It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. We're live, ladies and gentlemen. It's already Wednesday, the 14th day of November 2012. We have a jam-packed radio broadcast today. Jesse Ventura is going to do a weekly 30-minute pop-in as we track the, well, it was going to be 8 episodes, but 7 episodes of the show Conspiracy Theory. The one criticizing the TSA and their naked body scanners. Time Warner has axed that, giving no explanation, so total censorship there as usual. He's going to pop in with an update, and then his son, Tyrel Ventura, always informative, will follow in his footsteps, giving us his take on the election and more. We are also going to have open phones, and we're going to premiere a piece from the InfoWars Nightly News that is not aired yet. It was shot just 2 nights ago here in Austin with the premiere of a new big video game out there promoting drones and endless war and how this is conditioning the public. Our own Melissa Melton and Jakari Jackson were out there, so I'm going to premiere that report here as well today. Obviously, we're going to continue tracking what's happening with the unfolding takeover of the United States by the globalists. I mentioned this story yesterday, but I was rereading it up here at about 8 o'clock at night last night before I went home, and I thought, man, I've got to cover this article properly, because there it is in the local San Diego paper saying people are getting thousands of dollars to report on their neighbors if they're washing their car. That's considered improper water runoff, but the government can put fluoride and thousands of, you know, different things in your food and water and all the rest of it. You're talking about $100,000 fines, massive jail time. This is the Agenda 21 tyranny that's unfolding worldwide. You know, I first started exposing myself, Agenda 21, in 1997 off the Rio de Janeiro 1992 meeting that it's based on, Agenda 21, for the 21st century, and also covered it in my film, America, Destroyed by Design, again in 97. And I'm not territorial about when I covered it. It's just that we covered it in 97, and we covered it in 2001 in 9/11, The Road to Tyranny, actually showing clips from the Rio summit calling for world government and how they would use these systems to take over your property. I covered it 7 years ago in Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement with Dr. Michael Kaufman, who helped advise Congress and helped kill the takeover in 94. Like, I want to get Dr. Michael Kaufman back on. He hadn't been on in a while. And yesterday, after I got off the air, I don't even know how to respond to this because I haven't been going after Glenn Beck in a couple years, really much. Watson called up and said, have you seen this? And I didn't have time to even watch it till last night when I got home and had to muddle through it. Glenn Beck saying, I'm a piece of garbage, and using the ignorance of his audience, trying to imply that I'm trying to cover up Agenda 21. It's very bizarre. And then he talks about how he's been talking about it for 2 years. You know, my criticism of Glenn Beck, I'm going to cover this briefly later. I'm going to do a whole piece on this. I'm going to do it properly, where we really lay out what Glenn Beck's done. And, you know, 4 years ago, he'd say Ron Paul supporters are dangerous. The Army may need to be used against them. Just out of the blue, when Ron Paul had a chance to win primaries. And so I got mad at Glenn Beck. When Fox News said, we want to have you here to the studio while you're here on The View on ABC and CNN, please come over. In fact, they called me and said, well, can we fly to New York? And I said, well, I'm already flying there to go on The View. It's last year. I get there, and they call and they go, we're going to come meet you across the street. And the Fox News people come over and go, Glenn Beck's going to throw a fit if you're allowed in the building. So you know, we all hate him, basically. Everybody hates him, but he says you're not allowed over here. He's going to flip out. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. And I mean, Glenn Beck is like a body snatcher. First, he attacked us. When he couldn't beat us, he tried to become us. And now he wants to try to say, I'm pro-New World Order. So we're going to be exposing that coming up today. I'm going to go ahead and expose Glenn Beck. I'm going to put a big piece out on him. That's right, New World Order. That's right, collectivist, globalist, robber barons. That's right, those of you that want to set up a worldwide satanic world government. I can see for miles and miles and miles and miles. And so can a lot more people. Now, we're going to be getting into, obviously, what's happening with the economy. We covered some of this yesterday, but it's accelerating. Wealthy dump assets amid worries about going over the cliff. Mark Faber says prepare for a massive market meltdown. U.S. stocks hit 3-month low. That's out of the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is also reporting that Obama plans a $1.6 trillion tax hike, double what he had previously claimed, and that is a spokesperson for Boehner, Speaker of the House, saying that that's what Obama is proposing to them, and the acceleration of dumping of the different stocks is accelerating. So we're going to be looking at some of that today. Jesse Ventura is going to be giving us weekly updates for the next 4 or 5 weeks. He's going to be popping in, and we are going to open the phones up as well today. Also, this situation with Petraeus, the point I've been making since this news broke over the weekend, that the FBI was surveilling the CIA director because a woman complained to the FBI that a biographer of the general had said, you better watch your back. And so that's why they were surveilling him. That's the Patriot Act for you. And that's what the NSA and all of this is about. It is about the system surveilling its own minions and controlling them. So Petraeus scandal proves email is being surveilled. Even the director of the CIA cannot escape the watching eye of Big Brother. Well, of course, that's who it's mainly focused on, is the criminals watching each other. Petraeus agrees to testify on Libya before congressional committee. FBI's abuse of surveillance state is the real scandal needing investigation. This article just came out today, and I'm glad that the mainstream media is picking up on that, because you're surveilling the CIA director because a woman got a half-threatening email from another woman who happens to know. I mean, give me a break. They're surveilling all these people. They always have some little cover story of why they're doing it. Online privacy issue is also in play in Petraeus scandal. That's the New York Times. New video of Broadwell and Aspen raises more questions. You know, those two hoity-toitying around with each other. You've got, the media following her around, taking photos of her drinking wine in her house. I mean, this is just incredible. This is a giant distraction to purge the U.S. military of generals that have been saying no to an Iran strike. The evidence is overwhelming that's why this is going on. A lot of people are like, hey, this could bring down Obama, what happened in Benghazi. There are internal camps even within the Obama administration. And, I would love to see the executive excoriated. I would love to see people brought to justice. I mean, just in the eyes of the people, if Obama got impeached, that would discredit the socialism and the power grabbing. But there's a larger issue here, is why is the military being purged for girlfriends? And it's coming out because of FBI surveillance and FBI raids. Now they're talking about arresting Broadwell because she might have had classified stuff, that she was given access to for her biography. Well, they classify basically everything. I mean, they classify where the general, when he was over Afghanistan, was going to go that day to have a meeting or have lunch. I mean, the CIA every year, I've seen articles where they admit they classify over 1 million pieces of news. They review news articles and then don't want their underlings reading it, usually because it's bad, news about something they've done, and they'll classify that. So just incredible. This is part of the going after the whistleblowers, putting whistleblowers in prison. This is about persecuting people that report on corruption, and this is about a power struggle within the government over who gets to control the major reins of this New World Order system. And now they're talking about arresting her. So this is certainly meant to scare everybody. They've had 4 other generals have to step down or cut back, being demoted over lavish trips or over mistresses or whatever. And the point is, the Congress, many of them are in there laying their mail pages out over the desk. That's well known. You constantly see those scandals coming out, and that all gets swept in the rug real fast. You've got deaths, in congressmen's offices of female members. You've got all these scandals that come and go, but are very small compared to this. So they are selectively enforcing on the military. Plus, it's scandals people can handle. It's men with women. It's not like Penn State and the Penn State head covering it up. And clearly that was a child trafficking operation. Or the BBC, top presenter, Savelle, hanging out with the royal family and saying, quote, he does things for them. And all of that sickening stuff. I mean, this is how unsordid it is, because once you get a corrupt system, the worst of the worst get in. Do you guys have that Glenn Beck clip ready? Because we're going to play that here in just a moment. And speaking of this, we've got so much world news going on. We've got so much that is important. But I will spend a couple minutes on this at the bottom of the hour, just because Glenn Beck is very successful. Glenn Beck obviously has done a lot of good, but he's also done a lot of bad, personally to me, over the years, and taken things out of context, really tried to demonize yours truly. But that isn't why I started having issue with him, because you know me, I don't get up here and attack Michael Savage. I don't get up here and attack Rush Limbaugh. I'm up against Rush Limbaugh. I mean, I criticize when he says we should put people in jail for mandatory sentences when he's would be in jail for drugs himself if that was enforced on him. But I wasn't happy whenever Michael Savage left where he was at, even though we got a bunch of affiliates out of it, because it's not about I'm going to be #1 no matter what happens, and I'm going to be the guy with the most money, and I'm going to charge $500, for 300 people to come hear me give a speech so I can fly there in a private jet. I'm not even against money. It's just that at a certain point I'm kind of provincial, that I can go give speeches to 5,000 people. I could say, I'm going to speak in Chicago next month, 5,000 people would be there. If I wanted to charge them $100 a piece, they'd pay it. I could fly there in a private jet, videotape myself in the private jet, and I guess I probably should do that, because that's what the world pays attention to. And then I can get my message out. In fact, I'm actually thinking about doing to Glenn Beck what he's done to me, and actually going and having big things with 5,000 people. He can't get 5,000 anymore, but and charging people $100, because I could use that money to then advertise Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and building big, giant, super fancy sets. I'm just building sets so I can have more reporters working in other areas, and doing this kind of stuff. I mean, there's no doubt that when I was critical of Glenn Beck starting 4 years ago, it had an effect and pushed him more towards covering liberty issues. So I'm going to speak briefly about that. In fact, I already am. And then explain what this clip means. This is from his radio show, that it's also a TV show, because he says he pioneered having his radio show be a TV show. He pioneered exposing Agenda 21 2 years ago. I did it 17 years ago. And again, it's not that I'm always territorial saying I said this first, I covered this first. It's that it's frustrating to have it implied, because when you watch Beck, he really is a master of manipulation. I think that's where he gets under my skin, is that I'm just straightforward. And when I see someone, and I know how media works, leaving everything real nebulous in like a 12-minute attack piece on Infowars and yours truly, that I see that the implication in this is I'm trying to get Agenda 21 through. Here's a clip, a short clip.
If you know Agenda 21, Alex Jones, you piece of garbage. I don't know what your deal is. I really don't know, and I don't care. But if you actually cared about the things you were talking about, you would actually use your brain and start to find different ways than just going to your kook friends in your basement. What you would do is you would actually say with some credibility, this is true. And these are the ways that we can connect with people who may not be kooky friends in the basement.
It's exactly what someone who was involved in the 9/11 conspiracy would say.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
That's why
what he
he's
would
the
say.
master
That's
of
right.
disinformation on
That's right.
That's why.
That's right.
He didn't go to the DeVry University for nothing.
If you
Institute.
would, if you
Institute,
would
I'm
like,
sorry, yes.
if you would
That's
like
enough.
to further,
That's enough. By the way, I haven't read his book. When I heard it was coming out, I said, hey, we ought to read it. If it's good, we ought to carry it in the bookstore. I mean, you know, the IT folks came to me because I'm grassroots. We're just trying to start, you know, really, quote, be more professional in our presentation. They came to me. I'll just get into Glenn Beck now. They came to me and they said, look at this. We say it's $5.95 a month. He says that. We say the truth is, you know, here. He says that. Look, and they were showing me like dozens of things that were copied exactly from Infowars.com and just dozens of examples. And I said, listen, that's a good thing. Let's not do an article about Glenn Beck. He's not attacking Ron Paul, saying the Army needs to be called out on his supporters like he said 4 years ago. By the way, I'm going to put a video together with all this since Beck's fired at us. You know, he fired first blood. Okay, we're going to open up on you. You want it, you got it. And, you know, there aren't FEMA camps. When we sent him a package of info, and I know it got to him, with the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program, the Model States Health Emergency Powers Act, the congressional hearings, and he came out and said that wasn't true. And all the behind-the-scenes stuff. And when Glenn Beck got better at covering the New World Order, I just left him alone, even though he was still doing stuff behind the scenes. And then to do his latest thing, where he put out a hoax video about Agenda 21, our guys posted it for 30 minutes this weekend. I had it pulled down, one of the weekend guys. I had it pulled down. I'll tell you about it. Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern, we're here, blasting out on the AM and FM dial and XM 166, the internet with audio streams at prisonplanet.com, Infowars.com, and video streaming at prisonplanet.tv or InfoWarsNews.com. Okay, I don't want to spend all day on this because I've got really important police state news with drones and other things flying over Austin where I live. A lot of breaking news on the fiscal cliff and how they're going to try to bring in austerity on the backs of that and exactly what that austerity is going to mean for our future via Agenda 21. But those that listen to this radio show know that I very rarely attack other talk show hosts who are even mildly conservative or libertarian, because we've got bigger fish to fry, George Soros, the globalists, the New World Order. But Glenn Beck, I literally see something that Glenn Beck's done maybe once a month. I mean, I don't have time to sit there and follow what other people do. I probably should. I should probably have market researchers and find out what he's doing that's working and copy that. I know they copy what I do. I've been told by people inside his operation when he was at Fox that he had a room full of guys tracking everything we did, and we've seen the proof of that. And I've been called, oh, hey, we'll meet you at the steakhouse next door. Don't come over to Fox like you were supposed to. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me buy you lunch. Glenn Beck's throwing a fit. It's going to be big trouble if they let you on any of the Fox shows. I'm like, hey, that's fine. Really, you don't care? No, I've already been on it, you know, CNN, NBC, ABC. I mean, that didn't even do that much, going on shows like The View. I'm like, okay. I mean, I've been on national TV probably 100 times over the years. It doesn't matter to me. But to find out he has that much animosity against me, and now he moved to Dallas, Texas. I had realtors tell me about it when he was down in Austin looking at houses, or had his people looking at them. And I was like, don't tell me he's moving to Austin. And then he moved to Dallas. And I'm just like, come on. Pretty soon he'll say, Alex, get out of Texas, you fake Texan. Because he implies that I'm helping Agenda 21 because of this. And I tell you, Aaron Dykes last week went around and warned people. And he does this all the time. He goes, hey, this is an ad, and I can have a document cam shot, people watching on prisonplanet.tv. This is a ad, and we'll zoom in a little bit so people can read that. This is a ad. Got some new people on there we're training. That is running about a Glenn Beck book, but it looks like an official UN Agenda 21 eugenics ad saying there's too many people, stuff like that. And he said it's obviously some type of stunt. Aaron said it's a trap. And I'm like, obviously, he's going to say when people attack him for it that it was bull. So we went around and warned everybody but one person. We got like 6, 7 people that post and write articles and things just on Infowars.com. Saturday morning it goes up. We have the timestamp, 34 minutes. People notice that it's up. It gets pulled down. And did Glenn Beck on his radio show to millions of people go up there and say, oh, by the way, another document cam shot I want to show viewers. Here it is from the 8th, November 8th, all over the web being covered. His commercials being picked up. Turns out Beck wouldn't tell people what they were. He created a controversy over 2 weeks, and we found the articles where they made jokes about it. Okay? And they ran them like they were Dish Network ads. And then here's his website, The Blaze. Glenn Beck finally reveals the reason for those Gen 21 ads on Blaze TV. This is the type of deception. So he finally reveals. He makes it a controversy. We get hundreds of emails saying, why won't you cover this? One of our people takes the bait, puts it up. We pull it in 30-something minutes. Here it is, 404 error, not found. Down, they were watching the site so closely that they grabbed it and somebody took the bait. I didn't take the bait. You know, the news says expose the truth behind Gen 21 ads airing on the Blaze. Oh, he exposes it himself. That's on his site. Look at this. Out of the Globe Dispatch. Glenn Beck dupes Alex Jones. Yeah, I guess in a way the buck stops with me. I guess you did dupe me. I mean, you didn't dupe me, but dupe somebody up here. So there you go. So he can then go, because it's all a big joke that they duped their viewers, everybody, thinking it was real Gen 21 ads. One of my people bites on it, so he can call me a piece of garbage that tries to discredit him fighting Agenda 21 when he knows full well we had it pulled. It was up less than 40 minutes. I mean, this is what, and I mean, the way that mind works, so convoluted. I mean, I can see what he's doing, but my brain just doesn't work that way. I'm going to be honest about Glenn Beck. He just rubs me the wrong way. He comes off as kind of post-male. And he's what a lot of mainline conservatives like, little nasty jokes, a lot of sexual stuff, jokes about Alex Jones and Charlie Sheen in the shower together, made up stuff like that. And it's all part of this effeminance of him that is attractive to the estrogen-loaded, modern, conservative mainline males. And it's just all a creepy, nerdy, post-male thing. And I'll finish up with my statements on this on the other side. Okay, I've got a lot of geopolitical news to cover, the economy, phone calls, Jesse Ventura joining us again, and a lot more here today. We're going to break a report by Jakari Jackson and Melissa Melton on Black Ops 2 and the conditioning for the police state and drones, integrated with real news of anti-terror drones and more here in Austin, Texas. And this proliferation as the military-industrial complex absorbs our republic. But here's all I'm going to say about the Glenn Beck thing, because I'm going to produce a video. I haven't done one in over a year, more than a year on Glenn Beck, because I've said, well, he started covering the New World Order, started covering George Soros more in the last few years, started covering Agenda 21, the globalist. I remember, and we're going to get the clips in this special presentation I'm going to do, him saying Ron Paul's people are dangerous and the Army needs to be prepared to deal with them for no reason. Saying they call it a money bomb. It sounds dangerous. Again, playing on his audience's ignorance. And saying aspartame's good for you, wearing weird skull and bones, Masonic outfits at events. He's saying, I'm going to expose the FEMA camps with that fake. He loves conning people, laughing for a month, building up the audience, getting the patriot audience whose money he wants, whose time he wants, but who he hates. And I mean, just the pigginess of it, the post-male, weird, effeminate, Nelly, male tardism. I mean, you look at him and his co-host, I mean, this is a group you wouldn't want to hang out with. And, I mean, I'm sorry, I haven't talked about him in a long time, despite all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. When his gold company did some stuff that's pretty darn amazing, and I know about gold, I didn't pile in on that. I left him alone, and he did a lot of other stuff behind the scenes. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I just take it and take it and take it, because quite frankly, I'm worried about pregnant women going to the hospital and having their baby's blood taken for Defense Department bioweapons research. Quite frankly, I'm more worried about the fact that there's fluoride in our water. I'm more worried about the fact they're trying to start new wars and are surveilling us and purging the brass and the military. I'm more worried about the FEMA camps and the rest of it. But You know, I get New York Daily News, Rolling Stone, Nightline, all these places comparing me to Glenn Beck. And even some of them over the years saying I'm a Glenn Beck wannabe. So I'm not territorial about information. But I covered Agenda 21 in 1997 and made a film, America Destroyed by Design, that 14 years later, or longer, 15 years later, gives 1,000 times, literally, more information than he does when he talks about Agenda 21 in his documentaries. I mean, you can see a young, svelte, 180-pound Alex Jones out there with a camera making a documentary, America Destroyed by Design, 1997. And then again, Endgame 7 years ago. And it's weird to sit there and have somebody go, Alex Jones, you're a piece of garbage. You know, you need to get real information out and conflate it that I was basically running down him and saying he was for Agenda 21. Now, I get why one of our people that wrote a blurb off the YouTube blurb ran back down. Because I don't go around to my few writers and say, you will write this, you will write that, until it becomes an issue. Now I'm going to say, we've been nice and linked to some of his articles and tried to be friendly. No more. Posada non grata. No Glenn Beck unless I'm talking about Glenn Beck here at the InfoWars operation. No more positive, no more negative, no more nothing. Okay, I'm going to put out one report on him and I'm done. But the issue is, the reason I have to cover this is because it is a story of deception. It is a story of manipulation and cynical, laughing hyenas that are preying on their audience. And I, for one, have had enough of it. I don't like predators. I don't like manipulators. I don't like people that think they're smarter than everybody. I don't like bullies. And Glenn Beck is an effeminate, post-male bully. And he's not going to bully me, despite all his hundreds of millions of dollars he got from charging people $500, you know, $300 to sit there and fawn after him at these events that dwindle down to almost nothing. And I'm not trying to be mean about that. It's just that, you know, he is a shell. And out of all of them, you don't hear me talk about Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, Michael Savage. I don't really ever have anything negative to say about them, even though I disagree with some of what they do. But with Glenn Beck, this is it. 4 or 5, I mean, I remember first hearing him 10 years ago because I was on the same station he was on here, what was it, 1260 before it went sports, was my local affiliate in Austin. And I remember my local show on there, and I remember hearing Glenn Beck when he first went on WOAI, and it was kind of like Rush Limbaugh, but then he would do kooky conspiracy stuff, like things that were bubblegum, things that were cotton candy, things that weren't real, that weren't dangerous. It was like rumors and superstition and kind of crystal ball type stuff. You know, fold the dollar bill and it does that. And I'm like, man, this guy's a fruit box. You know, this guy's fruity. So I didn't tune into it because I didn't like it. And the talking real slow and drawing you out to get any information, kind of the, you know, the it's like a chip bag where it's 90% air and a little bit of chips down at the bottom. I'm just not into that. And so I didn't ever really follow him. And then I saw him attack Ron Paul. People were like, hey, you need to defend Ron Paul. He's saying the Army needs to be called out against Ron Paul supporters. You know, there's not a new world order. There's not a Bilderberg group. It was kind of like Rush Limbaugh, hey, you know, the CFR doesn't run anything, black helicopter, kook detector. And I'm like, so what? Let them do that. You know what? That's just what they do. But then he began to cover all this, but make it a Democratic Party conspiracy only, and attack yours truly on his radio show. And I'm like, well, that's not cool. Now you want to become Alex Jones, but only partially, while running me down. And I know Beck's mad that Rolling Stone and many other publications went and reverse engineered almost everything he talks about and found out word for word it was researched, discovered by my researchers, my guest, myself, and put forward. So here it is in a nutshell. It's very simple. Because of the good Lord above, your support, and friends out there in the media across the political spectrum who actually care about having a future. Because of all of us that really want liberty and freedom and are upset about being slaves. See, that's what motivates us 100%. That may motivate Beck partially, but He's an egomaniac. He's domineering. No one liked him at Fox. With him, it's all about he's going to be numero uno. He came from the old radio market model of fighting with the other host on the other station. I'm not doing that. I would love it if Glenn Beck reached 1 billion people a day instead of a couple million and was the biggest thing since sliced bread if he was a real patriot. I mean, I love other people's success. I love WorldNet Daily's success. I love Drudge's phenomenal, unparalleled success. That's why I have other talk show hosts on. I like George Norrie. I mean, he's so successful and so confident. He had me on 10 years ago and helped us to a great extent. And we're still friends to this day, more so than ever. And I know behind the scenes, pressure was put on people through Clear Channel and Premiere by against myself, by you-know-who, to not even have me on other shows. Just constantly shut Alex Jones down, keep him down, don't let him be heard. And, when somebody is rooting against you, and when somebody's taking your research and your terms and your and your promotions and almost everything you do and mixing it around with Oprah Winfrey in a box and shaking it up and then trying to knock you out, man, that is really creepy. And that's what imposters do. That's what imposters basically engage in. Glenn Beck couldn't destroy the Liberty Movement and say the Army should be called out against it. It really hurt him when he was at CNN. So then he became the Patriot leader and had the big events and tried to become the messianic religious leader as well, and talk about seeking after power. He even moved to Texas, where I live, and he wants me out of the way. I mean, that's what this comes down to. Glenn Beck knows he can look at the numbers and see that we are exponentially growing from a true organic place without ever joining with the New World Order to get power. See, he joined with the establishment to then get his presence and then realize which way the wind was blowing, that there was a bigger market to sell books to the Patriots, because that's a bigger market than, mainline conservative or liberal, and went off to do his own thing, taking a lot of what we've built and pioneered to a bigger scale. Great. Great if you didn't have it out for me, because the imposter who couldn't defeat the Liberty Movement joined it to try to take it over and co-opt it, but still Alex Jones is right there. Still people are all over his websites when he criticizes us. I sit there and go, hey, the elite, the elite like to kill and rape kids. Did you hear about the babies with the gold foil? Dozens of them they were trying to ship into the West for rich people to eat. That's the kind of stuff they do. No, I'm serious. The elite really eat babies wrapped in gold foil. Did you see the article? Well, they took a clip out of context where I was saying the Bilderberg group was in there eating babies when I'd said that was a joke in that part. Bullhorning for 8 hours a day outside the deal. But it's true. I go do a joke where I'm the Joker, to talk about the New World Order and play the part of a bad guy. People say, oh, that's really Alex Jones. Well, I'm going to play Satan later in the week. I just shot something last night that's very disturbing because I want to show you what real evil is. People will say, that's who I really am. So I get where all this is going. And again, I rarely talk about other media people because it feels dirty and it feels horrible and it upsets me to even get in the mindset of I need to become more successful so I can show all these people. I need to make more money so I can show everybody that I'm number one, that hyper dominance. When all I want is a future for my children, all I want is the republic restored, and I don't want a bunch of infighting with people that are in the Liberty Movement, and I inherently wish that Glenn Beck wasn't the fake, manipulative little bastard, excuse my French, that he is. I wish to God that wasn't the case. I want to believe in him. And Glenn Beck, you're a piece of garbage. You really are a little piggy-eyed manipulator, and you can see them in a post-mail frenzy of enjoyment that they're smart and they know how to manipulate people. And the fact that he would sit there and less than 40 minutes, I got the timestamp here, it's like 34 minutes, 35 minutes, somebody post a video where he's running ads, which they now admit were meant to create a controversy, asking, what are these pro-UN population reduction eugenics ads? They call them that. What is this? And then we get hundreds of emails and calls, and we're like, oh, this is obviously something he did as a stunt. It's a hoax. We don't tell one person about it. And it goes up, and they're ready to go play the part of the victims and say this. Let's play this clip one more time. Here is Glenn Beck, just after talking about his book on Agenda 21, segueing like I'm a piece of garbage that's hurting things by not going with the truth. Here it is.
If you know Agenda 21, you know, Alex Jones, you piece of garbage. I don't know what your deal is. I really don't know, and I don't care. But if you actually cared about the things you were talking about, you would actually use your brain and start to find different ways than just going to your kook friends in your basement. What you would do is you would actually say with some credibility, this is true. And these are the ways that we can connect with people who may not be kooky friends in the basement.
All right, let's stop there.
With someone who is involved in it.
Then they go on to basically talk about disinformation. Folks, Glenn Beck put out TV ads that look completely real, like they were produced by the UN, that is word for word what I've told you. A global government to forcibly reduce population. That's how they describe it on his website. They talk about it as eugenics. And they say the TV ads exposing Agenda 21 and eugenics. Eugenics. Did you ever hear about eugenics before you listen to my show? And again, I don't care. The most sincere form of flattery is imitation. I want to defeat the globalist. I don't territorialize this information. I get happy when I hear other talk show hosts talking about this. But to sit there and put out deceptive ads, let it become a controversy, and wait, I mean watching, obviously with Google updates is clearly how they knew. The minute it goes up, they're already on it. And so they can come in and freak out after the weekend, and I'm told it's still ongoing, about how I'm trying to hurt them because they're fighting Agenda 21. This is exactly what Glenn Beck did 4 years ago, saying, and by the way, I'm going to get all the clips back, and I'm going to show all the bills and all the confirmations of FEMA camps, and I'm going to show you saying there aren't any and that we're kooks. I'm going to show all the things you've done and how you've changed. And see, I was hoping he'd change for the better and saying, hey, let's be nice. You've heard me. Let's be nice to Glenn Beck, which, by the way, you moron, is good for you. You are just a little bit bigger than us when you count your radio stations, that you have a lot more affiliates. That's why on the web, now, for the tens of millions you spend on advertising, you have pushed past Infowars.com. I don't sit here and get upset by that. That's great, because I agree with most of what's on your site. The problem is that you will then turn back and stab us in the back later because you can't help your nature. Listen, I come from a family of just hardworking Protestant Christians that helped found this country on the Mayflower and then helped found Texas, and families that have stayed together and worked hard and have been pillars of their community. And I know about your history, and I'm sad for you. I understand you've had some really painful, bad stuff in your life. And I think there may be some good in you. But the weird, piggy, Nelly, manipulative garbage isn't going to work. So if you want to fight, you're going to get one. Okay? Because the fact that you'd put out hoax videos going around for 5 days before somebody picked them up, we slap it down. I showed people the document cam. It's been a dead link since 30-something minutes after it went up, and they run around saying, we've got him. He said something bad about us. We're not for Agenda 21. Those are hoax commercials. And, the person that wrote the little blurb on it was just talking about their view that he's a disinformation specialist there to demonize patriots, there to go after people. And all I can say is I had hoped for the best from Glenn Beck. And I had hoped that he really had turned over a new leaf. I did challenging videos a few years ago, like 3 years ago, saying, Glenn Beck, be on the right side of history. And I was told by 2 separate Fox News personalities that Glenn Beck was just beside himself with anger over a really friendly video saying, hey, you said Ron Paul, people were dangerous. You should have the Army used on them. You said there wasn't FEMA camps. Here's the proof. Man, be on the right side of history. And I started seeing him get on the right side of history, and now he does stuff like this with a sneaky deception so he can play the part of the victim and imply that I'm supporting Agenda 21 going after him. By the way, we carry the really good little book on this by Rosa Corey, Behind the Green Mask at Infowars.com. All right, I'm done talking about Glenn Beck. I do intend to put together a video just showing his flip-flopping, his deceptions, and the fact that, look, if you first say there's not a New World Order, and then you decide, oh, people aren't buying that, I'll become the leader of the movement against the New World Order so we can control that opposition. And then, oh, my gosh, but Alex Jones, you know, he's the guy talking about eugenics. Because, again, whenever Beck talks about it, it's about how communists want to do it or how the liberals want to do it. This is the whole agenda. This is Bill and Melinda Gates. This is Ted Turner. This is all of them. And Beck will not touch those people. And you're not going to beat them if you don't go all the way. So I get it. I make him passe because I actually go all the way. And so he's going to, oh, and he's a 9/11 truther. Folks, the government runs al-Qaeda publicly in Libya and Syria. Criminal elements of it. Got the underwear bomber on the plane. That came out in congressional hearings. Okay? The globalists run the terrorists. That's my point. And they're letting them attack us or staging events or provocateuring them to scare us into submission. I mean, that is well known. And the system is afraid of that. Maybe I need to talk more about government-sponsored terror, more about false flags and historical examples, because the system is scared to death of it. They are so scared because they can't stage events and take your liberties. They can't stage a Fast and Furious and ship guns into Mexico to kill people and blame the Second Amendment because people are looking for it now and expose them. It's incredible. I just want a future. You know what I want? I want a future. I want a future. I want a future. You know, I was offered the big national syndication deal 12 years ago and 10 years ago and 8 years ago if I'd sell out. I said no. I was offered all the stuff that other talk show hosts were offered. I'm sure a lot of them get offered it to get into Beck's position or Hannity's position or Limbaugh's position. But I've chosen to be on the right side of history. And I can't compromise. I mean, I can't pre-phrase what I'm going to say. I've got to say what I've researched, what my heart and my intellect knows. And I've sat here from the grassroots and funded myself to build an organization reaching 15 million people a week, thanks to your support and God's support and your prayers. But you know what? Maybe I do need to put on airs. I think that's part of it, just with the public, to then get them to come hear the truth. I probably need to get around to have those rallies with 5, 6, 10,000 people. You know, I've had them with over 2,000 before without even trying. I need to, I guess, charge people $300 to come to an event and then land in a private jet and show off to everyone and maybe build a giant set and call the people in that make CNN sets and do all that, because maybe people have to see the packaging, you know, that supposedly brings the credibility. Like if you're on a fancy set posing as the president like Glenn Beck does and you come out and expose Agenda 21, it has all that authority. Maybe I should wear a necktie. But I mean, again, I'm not against making money. I just don't want to gouge people $500 for a ticket to come hear me speak. In fact, it's almost embarrassing to come out and have 2,000 people screaming your name, you know, and women climbing over the banister to, you know, get at you. And that's what happens now when I go give speeches. That I'm like, whoa, I'm not going to give these speeches. See, I don't like that. I want to go be a recluse on some mountaintop and just watch, you know, the grass grow and hang out with my children. I'm not worldly, ladies and gentlemen. People think my aggression is ego. It's the opposite. It's someone angry about being enslaved. It's someone angry about tyranny. It's someone upset. And it upsets me when I see people sold out. It upsets me when I see how fallen this world is, including myself. It upsets me. It upsets me greatly. But all I know is we've gotten this far because of you, and we make mistakes. We're not perfect. And, you know, we did make a mistake buying into his hoax, but we're not making a mistake that he's a disinformation agent. He's certainly been one in the past. I'm done talking about it. We'll put a video together in the next few days. You want it, Beck? You got it. We're gonna absolutely strafe you up one side and down the other politically. Get ready. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's play this Black Ops 2, breaking down the new video game with our reporters. Here it is.
I'm Melissa Melton reporting for InfoWars Nightly News. We're here at the Black Ops 2 premiere, and we hope
if you've been following InfoWars over the past several weeks, you've seen we published articles concerning the public perception of drones. Let's find out what these gamers have to say.
What's like the new coolest thing about this game?
Probably all the new zombies.
I love zombies. The gameplay on zombies.
It's got to be the zombies.
There's going to be zombies in it.
The zombies are back. I love playing zombies.
My reasoning for being here tonight can be summed up in one word: zombies.
Nazi zombies.
Playing zombies again.
Everybody loves zombies. What is it about zombies?
It's just fun.
Have you ever heard that the military actually likes to use games like this sometimes to recruit people?
We've heard the story of a 19-year-old who was actually offered a job by the military as a drone pilot because he got a top score.
So they monitor that?
Yes, they do.
And they come knock on your door. I'm Colonel so-and-so. I'm going to give you a job. Would you take it?
I'm going to have to.
If I could do that, I'll do that today if I could, but not to hurt anybody.
I would love the opportunity.
Nah, I couldn't do it. I'm not finna hurt America like that.
Man, if I get a job like that, hell, yeah, let's do it. I'm good. Shoot, who I got to kill?
What do you think about drone use in the real world? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's actually pretty good. I mean, it keeps our troops safe.
Did you know in Pakistan about 80% of the people killed by drones were non-combatants, pretty much civilians?
No, I did not know that.
Okay.
That's not a good news, though.
I think any level of civilian casualties is unacceptable.
Our military should be able to be, more accurate.
Yeah, I believe it.
You believe it?
I believe it.
You think
it's
that's
pretty messed up?
They're set to release 30,000 drones here over American skies to surveil us, and yes, they are.
Well, I think it's completely unnecessary. I don't see how it's going to make us safer.
That's certainly scary.
It's actually kind of scary sounding.
I think it's wrong, too. Of course I do. Of course I do, but the government's not right. They do a lot of things we don't like.
I don't see any real problem with drones surveying us per se because it gives us this kind of sense of security. And I don't necessarily think they're going to be spying in our backyards. And even if they are, maybe that's not such a bad thing.
Man, come do it. Shoot. Hell, we get hit, we get hit.
Like, that'd be kind of cool just as, like, security, defense, whatever. But, like, I don't know, someone hacks into them.
It could be just like in Black Ops 2, and they could all turn against us and kill us.
Did you know the University of Texas has actually been able to hack a drone using about $1,000 worth of materials?
Ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Actually, no, I have not heard of that.
That's the main concern. If some kids at, like, UT could do that, I mean, terrorists and stuff. Like, what about that?
Now, do you plan to go to school or work tomorrow?
Man, I ain't even going to go to work. I'm just gonna play my game. That's it.
And work, I don't work tomorrow.
I do, but I'm definitely going to sleep in.
Yeah, I have class. I have to go.
Okay, so you're not going to stay up all night?
I'm going to stay up all night.
Did you know one of the games they have tonight is a care package that actually comes with a mini drone?
Yes, I was tempted to get that, but it wasn't quite in my price range, so.
Some critics say that games like this desensitize people to the real, harsh realities of war. What do you say to those critics?
I would have to say that their critiques are absolutely 100% correct. We have absolutely become desensitized to vile actions.
We're outside GameStop about to pick up our Black Ops 2 care package in just mere moments. The care package comes with its very own drone, a real remote control drone that you can fly around. Now, you've heard us at InfoWars talk about drones several times, and we basically came to the conclusion that if Big Brother can fly drones on us, we are going to fly drones on them. That's why we have #DroneMob. You can follow us on Twitter to let Big Brother know that, hey, if you're going to keep flying drones on us, we will fly drones on you. #DroneMob for more details.
Shoot, we are drones one way or another.
All right, folks, we're going to be right back with Jesse Ventura straight ahead. Well, he's the former governor of Minnesota, movie star, TV host on MSNBC, you name it. And he's Governor Jesse Ventura. He was on with us last week. We were talking off air, and we're like, yeah, why don't we do off and on weekly updates over the next 7 weeks as the hit show Conspiracy Theory is in its third season. We're going to talk some about that. They were saying last week it's going to be the death ray tonight, Tesla technology, which I do know the FBI came and seized all the stuff after he died, and that the man was a genius among geniuses and made Thomas Edison well, look like a novice like myself when it comes to electronics and the application of science. I can grasp the basic systems, but certainly not the development of it. So that is what's scheduled to come on tonight, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. And Governor Jesse Ventura joins us. After he leaves us, I will get into the developments in the economy. Jesse, let me throw a curveball at you here, Gov.
Sure.
As soon as Obama got elected, the economy started accelerating its implosion. But that's what Max Kaiser and Gerald Celente and others said would happen, that as soon as he got in, they'd stop propping up the economy, scare everybody just like they did 4 years ago, to say, hey, give us more taxes. And now they want a VAT and a carbon tax that I know you exposed in some of your shows, but most of it will go to prop up the too big to fail derivatives. You did a big groundbreaking special on the Wall Street Mafia. What is your take on this being held hostage, that, you know, if we don't give trillions more to the bankers, they'll implode the economy?
Well, you know, I've never worked at that level to deal with the bankers at that level, so I don't have that experience, Alex. But one thing down on the street level I noticed was how right before the election, the gas prices up here in Minnesota just tumbled. I mean, gas dropped nearly $1 a gallon. And as soon as the election was over, now they're going back up again. I found that very interesting, that, you know, they've gone up now 20 to 30 cents a gallon back up. And, you know, they fell nearly $1 a gallon before the election.
Oh, yeah. Well, about 4 months ago, I saw the article where OPEC, led by the Saudis, said they were going to increase output to help Obama.
Well, I don't know about any of that. You know, again, it's a case of that. I don't think it's necessary. I think the same things would happen if Romney would have won. I don't think it makes any difference.
No, I agree with you, but the system wanted to get their people back in, and then they wanted to drop the hammer on everybody afterwards to then say, oh, my gosh, the economy is in all this big trouble. We need to bring in this whole, you know, system of more taxes to fix it.
Well, that's above and beyond me. I will say this, though, Alex, on a personal note. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm doing your show so damn much. They tell me now my disapproval ratings on polls are nearly 60%. Well, that's not a nice thing to say about my show. Well, I was just saying that I'm unbelievable that I have disapproval ratings of nearly 60% now.
Yeah, Governor, you're looking at that wrong. All politicians, and I know you're not really a politician, more of a statesman. You stand for what you believe. That's the definition of a statesman, trying to help others, not, you know, just help themselves. But Congress has a 9 to 12% approval rating, depending on which Gallup you look at.
Right, but Alex, I've never had a disapproval rating over 20 before. Never. And now I'm up near 60, and I haven't held office for 8 years. I don't even know why I was included in these polls, because obviously they threw me in there because I was rattling my sword about running.
Sure. Well, just to expand on that, a lot of these polls are fraudulent as well.
I understand all that.
In fact, I bet you money. I just did a poll last week with Harris. I could go and pay to have a real scientific poll done where I write the questions, just real, very simple. You know, what is your favorable or disfavorable view or unfavorable view of former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura? Just one question put to him, and I bet you'd get 60+% positive. But no, I mean, it's all part of the hatred of government, period. And just anyone even associated with it is at all-time highs, even though you say you don't like either party. It could also be that people get so politicized into the final stretch of an election that you're bashing Republicans and Democrats, both sides then get mad at you.
Yeah, that's true, too, because if you add up the numbers, 60 would be about how many Democrats and how many Republicans there are, because it's roughly 30 apiece.
Yeah, sure, and about 40% call themselves independent.
Exactly. So maybe it just breaks down that way. But I just found it kind of interesting because there was a time when I was governor, my disapproval ratings were single digit, if you could imagine that.
But this is a phenomenon they're seeing where people, it's a depression, and people are disgruntled, and anyone seen as successful is also going to be hated now. Not only are the elite getting very corrupt, the general public, by and large, is becoming more degenerate. That doesn't mean everybody. It's just that segment I'm sure you've been out on the street and seen how people act and behave nowadays.
Right. Well, anyway, let's move on to the show or something.
Absolutely. I just wanted to get your take on that. Yeah, the death ray. I mean, we talked a lot about what your favorite episode is, and I think they're in the death ray. They said last week they were. Notice on the site it doesn't say what's airing tonight. Do you know what's airing tonight?
No, I don't. I just looked at my TV and I went to the show tonight, and they didn't give any information on what show was airing. But according to last week, it was going to be Death Ray, so what the heck, we'll talk about Death Ray. Death Ray was, to me, the most interesting show to do.
Give us tidbits of the death ray.
Well, of course, Nikola Tesla allegedly developed one, and then the government came in when he died and took everything he had. And my tie into the death ray is this. Here's my feeling on it. Back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan's main focus was to create Star Wars, which was a system to where if missiles were launched at our country, we would have the mechanism to destroy them in the air before they would ever arrive here by some means, be it laser, be it whatever. Well, they spent billions of dollars to develop this technology for Star Wars, and we never did learn, were they successful? They never came out and told us. It all of a sudden just disappeared, it went off the map, and there was no more discussion or talk about it anymore. So we as the general public were left with, well, did they create Star Wars or didn't they? And it's of my belief, I think, that they were successful and that they have created it. But they're just simply withholding that information from us, the general public, because most of the time, whatever level the government is at in discovering things or whatever they know, they're usually 20 to 30 years ahead of what we know. And the case in point, what's interesting, the way to look at that is, take a look at Star Trek and all the things in the old Star Trek movies that are now reality. I mean, in Star Trek, they had the little cell phone things. Well, now everybody on the planet has a cell phone and walks around with it, just like in Star Trek. And they have all these other things that they show you in Star Trek that I believe that have come to fruition today. They are a reality today, 20 to 25 years later. So by using that analogy, what we know they have today, what do they really have? And in this show, I do an interview with John Hutchinson, who has what they call the Hutchinson effect. Well, he's a genius, never went to school. He actually told me he worked on Star Wars. And he looked at me and he said the most profound thing to me. He said, do you really believe that people like me haven't discovered anything beyond the jet engine for the last 60 years? Think about that. They want us to believe they have discovered nothing beyond the jet engine for the last 60 years. I find that very hard to believe, Alex.
Well, I agree with you, Governor. And while you've been talking, I put up the earlier mainstream articles about in March when the White House pressured the Saudis to increase oil output. They did. And I pulled up Physics News. The Army has rolled out lightning bolt plasma laser weapons. And it looks just like something out of Star Wars. So, yes, now they are rolling more and more of it. I had Dr. Steve Pachinik on yesterday, who worked at high levels in the government, and he said they're 30 to 40 years ahead with space weapons, what they've told us. And so I think that's part of the governing class's arrogance, treating us like animals, is because they think they're gods now.
Well, that may be, I don't know, but I certainly believe that they're very secretive on letting us know what they do and they don't have, and what capabilities are out there. And probably, but I would say I'm 60 years old now, so what they have right now, I may not even learn about, because I could have shuffled off the planet by the time it becomes regular knowledge.
Well, doesn't, under the national security state, wasn't this going to happen since 47, where our money can be taken, unlimited trillions, and then in secret develop underground bases, super weapons, you name it, to where now they're just like, sit down and shut up. The Congress is told by the secret government, the shadow government, sit down and shut up, and they do it. So it's a breakaway civilization is what we're talking about.
Well, again, Alex, you know more about that than I do. I would just tell you that we have the right, if they use our money, to know everything they're doing. That's my opinion.
Well, it's not your opinion. That's law, but now they even ignore the foyer suits and the rest of it. I mean, it's just out of control.
Yeah, I would, and the only way it's going to get under control is for people to stop electing Democrats and Republicans.
It's almost like the old Greek legends where they said the gods would walk amongst them but had all these incredible powers. Soon the globalists with their sci-fi weapons and stuff will be like gods amongst us, the commoners, but they're still going to be humans just like us with all the rage, all the problems, all the everything. And we may end up like Atlantis, Governor, and blow ourselves up.
Yeah. Well, we could. And getting back to the TV show, if it's the death ray tonight, Alex, this is also the most exciting show because, of course, in doing the show, we had a fatality that happened.
Well, we're going to go to break, Governor, and let's talk about more of the death ray straight ahead with former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura. I'm Alex Jones, and this is the GCN Radio Network. Their website's gcnlive.com. We'll be right back. Stay with us. I was just talking to Jesse Ventura during the break, and he said he was joking about coming on my show being unpopular. He was pointing out that the Minnesota paper there in Minneapolis did the poll. They're always writing negative things about Ventura. But I started obsessing over polls and numbers. I tend to do that. But he brought up the real reason he said he might be unpopular locally. They only publish the sworn testimony of people that admit they weren't even there and weren't witnesses of hearsay that Jesse said he was glad U.S. troops were dying, which I know he would never say. I've been driving along in the car with him when he talks about troops dying and he gets a tear in his eye, and you've heard that on air. He would never say that about Navy SEALs. That's asinine. Why would he be there speaking at an event for graduates and then say he's glad they're dying? I mean, if you really said that in a Navy SEAL bar, you would get your butt kicked. And the point is that, well, you got to tell him, because, I mean, obviously the guy has no witnesses. That's coming out. They just deposed you. And, I mean, make the point you made to me off air, Jesse.
Well, it's this, Alex. I haven't had my day in court yet on that event. He's been splattered all over TV. He went ahead and said all the stuff that he said last January when I was down in Mexico and couldn't even defend myself. In fact, you defended me, you know, which I appreciate. And so I haven't had my day in court yet. And so there could be a lot of hostilities towards me. I can never redeem the fact of the damage he's done. But when I have my day in court, hopefully the truth will then come out and it will resurrect me, and maybe my popularity will return a little more.
Yeah, but the Minnesota papers always had it out for you. I'm telling you, I could do a poll and have them 90% in favor of you, so don't let that get you down. But I think that...
it don't bother me, Alex. It just caught me off guard a little bit. I didn't, you know, it's kind of, you know...
No, I know, but getting back to this,
like that.
You notice it was Roman military precision. Right when you cross the border, in your RV, it happens. I call you once you get to your place in Baja. You say, this is totally made up. So I had to, get you on via audio Skype to defend yourself.
Right.
But, I mean, look, you have been a major presidential contender. They've done national polls, as you know, showing that you beat people in a three-way race. And you were talking about running, and they wanted to destroy you. And so you've got to defeat this guy in court. And, I mean, I don't want to give away the goods here, but I'm not. I mean, if there's any justice, you're going to win.
Well, put it this way, you're exactly correct, Alex. Because if it gets to the point where you can lose in court over an event that never happened, well, then this country is, in my opinion, truly lost. If you can go into court and lose over an event that never took place.
Well, he also says in the book 6 times that he lies.
Oh, yeah. If you read his book, you'll see that he admits to lying on multiple occasions.
Unbelievable. In closing, I'll be back with another 30-minute update with us next Wednesday. Jesse, great idea you had to do these updates, and we appreciate your time. They're taking care of the family. In closing, more on the death ray. What's the most exciting part of the death ray episode about Tesla coming up tonight? Because this is probably...
I think it's all exciting because I want people to watch the show tonight with an open mind, and I want them to listen to the facts and look at the photographs that we show on this death ray stuff, especially with its tie into 9/11. The most exciting part of the show to me is the segment with Dr. Judy Wood, the physicist from Virginia Tech. That part just intrigues me beyond belief in this show. And also the fact that we will give you, you'll energy does exist.
Yeah, I saw some of the footage that you guys had together. I haven't seen the episode yet. And then I tell you, this one is going to be amazing. Tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, I'll be watching it. And then we've got the other episodes. Still any word on why they canceled the 8th episode of TSA?
No idea.
I was unable to see Piers Morgan. Were you able to get that out on air?
Piers Morgan, are you kidding? Piers Morgan pulled a sham on me. They said they wanted to promote the show. They got me on, and all he talked to me about was the election.
Amazing. And
that's what they do to you. I had to promote the show. He didn't.
Did he get upset whenever you started bringing up the show when he'd had you on about that?
No, but I wasn't on long enough. I waited for him to do it. He opened with it that I had the new show starting, and then he went into the election, and by the time he got done with me, I had like 30 seconds left to throw another quick cross-promotion out there before he signed me off.
All right. Well, Gov, we'll talk to you again next Wednesday for 30 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll say bye to you during the break.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. All right. Speaking of Venturas, I got his son coming up next to break down not just the new episode coming out, but the election, so much more. We'll get Tyrel Ventura's take, TV director, you name it, in his own right. Well, it's all coming. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Alex Jones. About to go to our next guest here. We're going to break down more of the news after our guest leaves us. System announces it will use DNA stolen from babies. I've been reporting that for 16 years. They declassified it 3 years ago. The government takes your blood at birth and puts it in a database and then says they own your DNA when you go in to get genetic treatment later. Federal courts have been ruling. That's how all this stuff came out. I've been told this by a nurse working for the Pentagon. I'll just leave it at that. Back in the mid-'90s and did reports on it. People didn't believe it then. Folks, the government thousands of times has killed U.S. citizens and troops in experiments that were meant to be lethal. They murder you. We've been run by wicked globalists, a scientific dictatorship for a long time. Now they're getting ready to launch Agenda 21, take over the water, the land, everything. Stop being naive. Of course they staged 9/11. It doesn't mean you can't still get upset and fear al-Qaeda. I know it's fun to do that. It's fun to hate the others. But the thing is, those globalists run those radical groups. It's not that there aren't radical Muslims out there. Okay? Just understand they're using the threat of that to take your freedom, and you are the target in the Homeland Security documents that we've broken here on air. Okay, Tyrel Ventura is our guest here. And I just got to say something about Jesse Ventura before we go to Tyrel. Jesse is a real guy. I mean, he is just a real guy from hardworking, blue-collar, roots with his, dad, a World War II hero. And I know Jesse Ventura now for 8 years. I know him pretty well. And he's the real deal. I disagree with some of his politics vehemently. But the fact that he is real, the fact that he's not corrupt, and the fact that the system always says he isn't real or he's corrupt with no evidence is what makes me mad. Because let me tell you something. I've got a lot of problems. I'm not perfect. The system always tries to say I'm not real or I'm a fake or that I'm betraying someone because they're doing that to you. And they don't want you to know there's real people in this world. And that said, Tyrel Ventura, who's made a bunch of different films, TV shows in his own right, run camera on the last 2 episodes, done research. He's now one of the hosts and reporters on 3rd season of Conspiracy Theory. And he joins us. And I was just thinking during the break about your dad. I didn't intend to get you on and then talk about your dad. In fact, I didn't even intend to get both of you on the same day. I was going to have you on last Friday, but I didn't set it up. So it just so happened that it fell today. I looked at the schedule and figured that out. But talking about your dad, something no one's probably ever asked you, or at least I haven't. I've never heard you talk about it. How hard is it for you to watch people say that he went to a Navy SEAL club and said he's glad Navy SEALs are dying when you know your dad? I mean, I know he would never talk like that, and says the opposite on my show when they lie and say he got pulled over trying to fly out of an airport when he didn't do that. To see the disinformation campaign and to see things like that, and to see the system using the ignorance of the population against people. I mean, I know you don't want to talk about the case, but, I mean, how has it affected you and your family to see the national news spread all those lies about your family?
Well, anytime anytime you live through, your father being a governor and all the things that are, said in the heat of politics and the smear campaigns and things like that, you develop a pretty thick skin. And, it doesn't affect us as a family personally. I mean, do you like seeing people spread lies and disinformation about your family? No, of course not. But we believe in what we're doing, and who cares what they say.
Exactly. Well, that's my view on it. I'm just so sick of it happening in my own life, because when you look at the piles of crap that are doing it, excuse that term, but that's what it is, it's just, you can't believe there are people this dishonorable who think it's cute and funny when they manipulate people.
It's just the standard tactics that are done in any kind of political environment. You have to tear down the enemy, or you have to insult people if you don't agree with them. It's kind of what we've devolved into in our political discourse these days. Whether it be the incident involving people saying that my dad said horrible things about the Navy SEALs, which we all know he would never do. Or making up that he's getting speeding tickets, or when he was governor and the disinformation and lies were put out then. It's just it's what we kind of devolve into as a society. It's a TMZ culture, and that's kind of what they prey upon, is that people would rather gossip than actually have real discussions about real issues.
Exactly, and it's a way for little people, especially who see themselves as little, they're not really little people, to make themselves better than somebody, is to just claim they're bad so they can feel good. And it's something the manipulators are fully aware of. I want to get into tonight's episode. I know in the promo last week, they were saying it's the death ray tonight, but on the site, last time I checked, it's not saying what's airing tonight. Tyrel, do you know what's airing tonight on True TV?
No, it is death ray, yeah, for sure. As far as I know, unless they changed it last second, but I doubt that. No, it is the death ray episode, which is essentially an episode of investigation we went into on directed energy weaponry. Nikola Tesla and things like that, and what kind of he was playing with towards the end of his career, and what became of that energy, what became of that technology and free energy and all of those things that it's powerful. It's really powerful. This episode definitely shook us to the core, as you'll see tonight. There was some things that happened during this episode that was pretty extraordinary, even if they're just coincidence. And it's probably one of the most powerful episodes I think that we've done.
And of course, you're talking about a death that happened.
Yeah. Could be coincidence, might not be. I don't know. There's nothing that says that it was anything more than it was.
But he died right after you interviewed him.
Correct. Yeah, and like I said, there's no facts that says there's anything more than just he passed away. But it's still always a very kind of like, oof.
And of course, we're not supposed to talk about what happened last season either. There's been some other. I tell you, none of this is coincidence. It's very creepy.
It's always interesting, when you're working and living in this world, you always kind of, you read the news a different way, you react to things a different way, because you never know, and that doesn't, you don't want to be paranoid. You don't want to go around your whole life paranoid and thinking every little thing is somebody out to get you or is a conspiracy, but at the same time, you have to take a second guess and you have to read between the lines just to make sure that you're not, that you are getting the full facts, But this episode's extraordinary. I really highly recommend people tune in and watch it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is the most powerful, and I'll be honest, I said the things I said about David Icke in the last episode, playing devil's advocate of things I'd said in the past, but saying I think overall it's good that he's getting people talking and opening up their horizons. I mean, I guess you could say I was a critic 14, 15 years ago, as they kind of intro me like that. But it was an entertaining episode, but kind of a bummer, because I like, both people that are involved with the show. And I know you guys literally did start that David Icke investigation, with an open mind, open heart. I'm sad that it kind of went in that direction, but this Death Ray episode is off the chart from what I know about it.
Yeah, no, it's an extraordinary episode. And again, it's going to be controversial. You know, like I said, a lot of the episodes we did this year might be a little controversial within the world of people that research and follow conspiracies and dig into that world. And I know obviously reptilians was last week. It was very divisive amongst the community because you have a lot of people that believe what David Icke says and you have a lot of people that don't. And then you had a lot of people, you know, saying, you know, how dare Jesse even look into something like that? But I feel very strongly that you have to look into everything. You can't ignore something even if it feels, you know, out there or fantastical, because there may be some really legitimate, great research being done within the context of that. I mean, do I, you know, like I say, do I think that there's shape-shifting reptiles running the world? No. But does that reject the good research that people are doing, even if they go to that conclusion? You know, like Tracy Twyman's research into the bloodlines of our leaders and things like that. That's legitimate, good, great research.
Well, here's my deal. David Icke, people can disagree with some of the things he says. The guy really is genuine in that he believes his research is accurate. Yeah. And look, he said that that Savelle guy was a guy bringing kids to the royal family, and now it's coming out that it's basically true. I mean, I tell you, I wish David Icke was wrong. Because, I mean...
Well, yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, David brings it to this very otherworldly area, which that's what Jesse, I think, had such a major problem with it, is that you can do great research, but if you bring it to this strange conclusion that is really impossible to prove one way or the other, you know, you know what? Then
no, I understand. I mean, that's what I said, is that if something's off-world, well, then how do you deal with it? But the way the globalists have already broken off another breakaway civilization under national security with all this high-tech stuff built with our ingenuity and our money, they might as well be aliens. I mean, the globalists are psychopaths. I see a psychopath as alien to the human race.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, you know, are they disconnected from the human race in the sense of, do they live, you know, kind of above the law? Yeah. Do they live by their own rules? Yeah. You know, do they care about the rest of us? No. So I think that's really where, you know, you could make that leap, like you're saying. You could make that kind of jump, like you're saying. You know, but it was a great episode. I mean, it's controversial. It was definitely an interesting thing to look into. You know, I saw the stuff I did, and it you know, it made me aware of that world. And, you know, it's like I always say, it's, you know, 300 years ago, we thought the world was flat. You know, in another 300 years, we may all be looking at each other and say, wow, Ike was right all along. I mean, you know, you never know what you'll discover, you know, and so you always have to leave your mind open at least a little bit, you know, to, hey, you know what, we don't know everything about how this universe works and about how this world works. But at the same time, you know, you have to be there to say, to put the foot down and say, okay, here and now, that doesn't make sense. But, you know, it could in 30, 40 years. You never know what we're going to discover tomorrow or the next day.
Tyrel, more tidbits that you can tell us about the episode coming up tonight and why people should tune in.
Well, I know that tonight's episode was really controversial and actually kind of started when Jesse was on your show, what, a year ago or 2 years ago. I don't exactly remember the right timeline, when he started looking into directed energy weapons and then looking into Dr. Judy Woods' work. And I know that really upset a lot of the 9/11 truthers out there, and suddenly they started attacking Jesse and saying he was a sellout and all these things. And you know, my dad's always had the attitude of like, look, I'm going to just do research. I'm going to research these things without a bias until I feel that either they're true or not. And he never likes to be labeled as part of a group. And, you know, one of the things that really upset him is everyone attacking him for looking at Judy Woods' work, when he's saying, well, wait a minute, we don't know that it was thermite. We don't know that it was directed energy. But either way, we have to look at all the possible scenarios.
Sure. Well, let me explain something to you on that, because I mean, I think people fighting on the internet, I mean, that's just part and parcel of it. This is much ado about nothing from my perspective. We were talking last week, and you're like, yeah, you know, I know this is a controversial episode with Judy Wood and all. And I am not saying there aren't directed energy weapons. I'm not saying they didn't have all sorts of stuff to demolish those towers. We've got them on tape saying, get back, we're going to bring down 7, and then 7 blows up, classic demolition style. My issue was, if you want to understand this, and not the professor, I've never talked to her, out of the gates like 5, 6 years ago, this was about 6 years ago, I get phone calls from other people going, prominent people, you traitor, you better expose it with space beams. Yeah. And you better go with this information. And then it was like a way to wedge the movement, and the media would go with the space beam angle to like try to discredit 9/11 truth. So I just said, look, I don't know about this, but some of these other professors, some of these other street people in New York and others, I mean, I would go to New York and they'd run up and go, CIA pig, you know, the guy had a foreign accent, get out of here, we know you'll cover up the space beam. And so my whole deal was I was bum rushed and told you better adopt space beam. So I just went, whoa. And it was kind of like 6, 7 years ago. This guy sent me an email and said, he said, you will cover the Vatican or I will expose you for working with them. And I like sent him an email saying, well, you know, go where the sun don't shine, buddy. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, you know, people that want to get on your show, they're like, I'll expose you if you don't have me on. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, you know, and it's you know, Jesse came upon that information, you know, he came upon Woods' work, you know, on his own. He wasn't told to look into it or anything like that. He just, you know, someone had said, hey, have you checked this out? And so he read her book and said, wow, this is a pretty interesting, plausible theory in Jesse's mind as he read her book. And I know I had a big problem with it because I for a long, you know, I firmly believed in the thermite, you know, definition and you know, the good research that's been done that way. Today, as I sit, you know, even after, like I said, you got to watch the show tonight because it's really compelling stuff. Today, I sit kind of at a crossroads because I say, you know, both sides, both alternative theories have some weight. You know,
the point is the official story isn't true, and that's another thing.
The official story isn't true. Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, not Woods, but some of the others savagely attacked Dr. Stephen Jones and others when there's evidence of conventional explosions as well, especially Building 7. And see, that's what I mean. It was like a takeover, very aggressive. And so when people heard Ventura say, hey, I'm looking into that side, you know, because of the aggressiveness of that movement, that's why people turned against it.
I got you. Yeah, no, and you know, that's one of the things I think that's so important, especially in looking at people's reactions to these last 2 episodes, and I think their reactions to tonight's episode, is you have to do the research. You have to look into every possible thing before you can discredit something or before you can credit something. And that's what we're trying to do this season, is saying, you know what, on some of these bigger issues, let's look at, like, we've done 2 seasons with 9/11, and we last season we spent doing 9/11 looking at thermite and looking at the Pentagon. You know, here's another option. And it happened to fall into something we were already wanting to get into, which was Nikola Tesla and the work that he's done and potentially what happened to his work. And so it was kind of an interesting, you know, road that we went down and said, oh, wow, you know, this kind of ties into what Judy Woods was talking about. And then when you see the experiments actually work, it really is, it's very kind of chilling. You're kind of like, ooh, that there might be some reality to that. But it's very important for us all when we're doing, you know, when we're investigating these things, is to not fight with each other, to say, okay, well, what information do you have? Okay, that's interesting. I have this information over here. And instead of being at each other's throats, we should all be working together.
No, I agree. People get very, very territorial. But again, minus that person you're talking about, the rest of that crowd, it was very vicious that you will cover this or your disinformation. So I think then Jesse got in on the tail end of that, kind of the boomerang of people then not liking anybody that you know, was pushing the particle beam or directed energy weapon theorem. When we come back, Ty, I want to get your take on the election, where you see America going, the financial meltdown. Then I'm giving the number out, folks, and we'll take your calls and a lot more. All this straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones. Infowars.com is jam full of key news and information tracking the globalist crime syndicate. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Locked and loaded. Another hour coming up. We'll open the phones up for your take on the election. The fact that they're getting ready to really hammer the economy down to scare everyone into accepting more consolidation and more taxes. Obamacare, attacks on the Second Amendment. It is on. The fight for the Republic is happening now. We're going to go back to Tyrel Ventura here in just a moment. First off, don't forget, we have powerful books exposing Agenda 21 and films exposing it, like Behind the Green Mask, Rosa Corey, that everybody's got to read, exposing the total agenda. It's nonfiction. It is reality. We also have my film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. If you want the full story on why they're carrying out Agenda 21, amazing, almost 3-hour film on DVD, available at InfoWarsStore.com. And we have the Obama deception, dozens of other films, books, all there. And 1 day left. ProPure water filtration, normally 10% off, the lowest price anywhere. Now 15% off with the promo code WATER15. Either go to InfoWarsStore.com and order right there off the site at InfoWarsStore.com. Or you can simply call the number and give them the promo code WATER15 and say 15% off on all the water filtration systems, including ProPure. So that's 888-253-3139. They've got the Traveler. They've got the big ProPure water filtration system, stainless steel spigots, stainless steel body, blows the competition away. ProPure. InfoWarsStore.com. Okay, going back to Tyrel Ventura. In closing, big episode tonight. Look forward to watching it with my wife after the kids go to bed. 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, True TV. What's your take on the state of the country, where this world's going, the drones, the secret arrest, the Petraeus situation, all of it, Tyrel?
Well, I mean, I think we're in the same fight that we've always been in. I mean, everybody asks me, you know, who do you like better, Obama or Romney? And I always kind of looked at it like, okay, I can vote for Gordon Gekko, I can vote for Bush the Third. You know, there's really no difference. You know, you're going to get the same, you know, mess either way. You know, this drone war going on in Pakistan, it needs to be brought to light. I mean, that's really disgusting what's going on there, as well as the NSA in terms of like what they're building in Bluffdale, Colorado, as well. And you know, the whistleblowing that like William Binney, I believe his name is done is pretty extraordinary in that. But we just got to keep vigilant and keep holding our feet, you know, holding their feet to the fire. You know, they've shredded our basic rights, and it's a concern. You know, if Obama is the man that he says he is, well, now he doesn't have to worry about re-election. Now he can do the things that he promised initially he would do and be this hope and change and peace president. Well, now you don't have to worry about running again and winning one part of the vote. So let's see it. You know, let's see you make good on your promises. I don't think that'll happen, you know, but who knows? No,
they're going to drop the hammer big time. Listen, it's amazing to see the FEMA camp special killed. Now they're not even going to air the TSA special. Tell us what was in that that people aren't going to get to see now.
It was an interesting episode. I mean, I ended up confronting Michael Chertoff in the episode, which was a pretty amazing moment. And I got him to tentatively admit that what they do at the airport is security theater. You know, that it's not actually really designed to, you know, stop terrorism. You know, the argument back is, well, it's more there just to kind of, you know, show that we're in control and show that the terrorists can't get through, but it really doesn't, you know, it's not really going to solve anything. I wish that stuff could have seen the light of day, because it was a pretty powerful, amazing episode.
You know what? I always save the best to last. Do 5 more minutes with us, then we'll go to calls. 1 minute break, Ty. I want to just give you 5 minutes of this next short segment to break down, because this is news making here, that they did a hardcore, serious episode with scientists on the cancer, on the body scanners, the cancer clusters, the money, confronted Chertoff. That takes big huevos, rancheros, and boom, Time Warner says not going to air it. All right, Tyrel Ventura, who just kicked hind end when it came to the 3rd season of Conspiracy Theory, is one of the investigative reporters. And now they're not going to air the 8th episode, the finale, the TSA, that when they do groundbreaking, totally proven stuff, persona non grata, it's not getting on air. It goes into a black hole. So, Ty, in 4 minutes we got left in this segment, tell people about Chertoff, where you confronted him, what happened. This is newsmaking.
Well, what happened with Chertoff, and I'll give Chertoff a lot of credit. He stood his ground. He answered the questions. He didn't shy away. He didn't, you know, do the usual like, oh, I'm going to run away from the interview or anything like that. You know, he has his convictions and his beliefs, and I think that he truly believes in what he's talking about. He might be a true believer in that.
Yeah, the bank account that's getting bigger. Yeah.
You know, exactly that too. You know, but no, he was speaking up in San Francisco, and we got up there with the cameras, and he sat and talked with me for about a good, you know, I'd say about a good 10 minutes about the TSA and about the security measures that that we're taking, and it was a very good interview. And you know, within the context of that interview, he fired back with his beliefs. I said, look, what about the fact that really it is just security theater. And he, all but admitted that, like, yes, in a way it is. We're presenting security in his mind, which was, I believe what he was trying to frame it as is that, the level of security, is it going to stop every terrorist? No, they can find holes in it, but really it's the appearance of it is what scares people away. But really, I think what he was saying essentially, or what I took from that was that really at the end of the day, it is just security theater. It's not really designed to be used to thwart terrorism.
It's designed to condition us to accept being slaves, and the government got the underwear bomber on the stinking plane.
Because it's like I said to him, it's like, well, okay, well, you have all these people in these huge lines, and you congregate us all together. There's 200 people waiting to go through these security lines. What prevents a terrorist from just walking into the line and setting a bomb off and killing just as many people as he would on the airplane? And his answer back to me was, well, that's up to the airports to figure out logistically and how to solve that.
All right, let's pass the buck. Let's expand. What other areas are covered? I know about the cancer and the scanners.
Yeah, we went into the cancer, we went into the scanners and how there's been cancer clusters and with TSA agents in Boston, things like that they're trying to prove. I believe there may even be a court case about that. Bear with me, this is about a year ago now that we did that. But
no, they've proven it. It's just that, now they're trying to prove that it's the scanners that made it have the 7-fold increase.
Correct. And there's very real good research that says that more than likely is the possibility of it.
How does it feel to do all that work? I mean, that would have been a big nationwide interview. That would have made newspapers everywhere. Well, that would have been good work to warn people and then to have it shoved into a black hole.
Well, I'll put it to you like this, Alex. Was there production reasons that weren't that had nothing to do with censorship involved? Yes. Do I think that Time Warner and True TV are a little hesitant given what happened with the police state episode? That probably played into it as well. I think that one of the things we learned in doing these shows is that when you talk about a conspiracy that's already happened, they're not as concerned. When you talk about conspiracies that could happen or are on the docket or are going to happen, that's when suddenly everyone gets really nervous.
Yeah, when you talk about the bank being robbed right now, that's what the bank robbers care about. They don't care if you talk about a bank robbery that happened 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Very well said. No, that's it. The FEMA camp takeover.
I've noticed that trend with a lot of our shows that the shows that take place, that we're dealing with something that happened in the past, not as big deal. Still controversial, not as big deal. When you deal with stuff that has yet to happen, that's suddenly when, it's harder to get the interviews or you got to fight a little bit more to get things on the air and things like that. One of the things I'm hoping for is, and this is up to the fans, let True TV know you want these shows on DVD. We got to get these shows out.
We're going to have you back up next week, and your dad's on. You're right. We need them all on DVD. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live, and we are challenging the globalists toe-to-toe, exposing their scientific tyranny, their eugenics takeover, their Agenda 21, New World Order program of despotism and forced collectivism, so the ruling elite can play the part of gods in their breakaway civilization with the life extension technologies hoarded to themselves while carrying out the orderly extermination of the general population through soft kill weapons in our food, our water, the GMO, the vaccines, all of it. And the evidence is overwhelming. The epidemic of diabetes and cancer. No one asks why it's exploding. We know why. We are under chemical and biological and radiological attack by the same government, the same globalists that have been caught putting foster kids in X-ray ovens and frying them, nerve gassing our own troops. This isn't our government. This is criminal elements that have taken it over. They are the eugenicist, New World Order crowd. They're the people that created Hitler. Again, if you just joined us, I'm Alex Jones. We're going to open the phones up here for first-time callers yet again. We don't screen your calls. I just ask that you have a point, be ready to make it. On the election, on how bad you think the economy is going to get, on Obama, are you happy? Are you upset about it? We had all these Obama supporters call in last week as I opened the phones up for them. A lot of people were chomping at the bit to counter them and talk about those calls, where if you don't agree with Obama on anything, you're a racist. Well, I'd like to hear from people that wanted to respond. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Now, first off, I want to hit this story because I talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's an Infowars.com, Paul Joseph Watson article. And again, I mentioned it, but I didn't get into it. It's such a big deal to just show how far we've gone, because the same thing's now happening in areas of Europe. This is the Agenda 21 system. We're under environmental rules. You're not allowed to have your own family farm. Your kids aren't allowed to do chores. But mega corporations are all exempt from this. San Diego residents face 6 years in prison for washing their car. And if you want to show folks a document cam, I'll put it right over here for everybody to see that right there. San Diegans could face 6 years in prison and face $100,000 a day for washing their cars in the driveway or failing to pick up dog poop under new EPA-mandated environmental regulations related to water quality. And you've seen the green police ad that Audi ran, and then the mayor of San Francisco bragged that had been produced in San Francisco and that's what they were really going to do, and that's even the real uniforms. Listen, we already have the biggest prison population. They're going to take everything you got, okay? They're coming. You want to cross-species engineer, you want to dump toxic waste, you want to do whatever, you're fine if you're a big globalist corporation. But if you're an individual, if your kid drops a battery in the backyard and your neighbor sees it on accident, you're going to spend time in prison. They're going to take everything you got. Home inspections, bureaucrats, cops putting cameras in your yard without warrants. That's already happening. Police dogs coming in without warrants. Drones watching you. Warrantless wiretaps. The CIA director spied on by the FBI. Just wall-to-wall evil. Street lights with microphones and cameras watching you. And it goes on here. Although residents of the city, and this is in the local newspapers, we have links to it where they report it with a straight face. Although residents of the city are forced to drink toxic waste in their water supply in the form of sodium fluoride and hundreds of other chemicals they add. They make you pay for toxic waste from chemical plants, and they call it an additive and put medical additive and put it in there and forcibly medicate you. Measures imposed as a consequence of the Environmental Protection Agency's Clean Water Act would turn the mundane of activities, the most mundane of activities, into a criminal offense. Quote, California's latest experiment in faith-based policymaking is being unleashed today on the San Diego public. A regional water quality officials, not servants, began hearings on new regulations that seem crafted to turn most owners of cars, house, or dogs into criminals within a decade or so. We wish we were exaggerating, reports the North County Times. Under the draft rules, ordinary homeowners may face 6 years in prison and fines of $100,000 a day if they are deemed serial offenders of such new crimes as allowing sprinklers to hit the pavement, washing a car in the driveway, or conceivably failing to pick up dog poop promptly from their own backyards, let alone the sidewalk. And then they're putting these meters with RFID scanners on the trash cans in Miami and other areas. Same thing in England. Then they have citizen spies that get percentages of the money to come dig through your trash. The regulations will be enforced with the aid of 24-hour telephone snitch line, with residents of San Diego, South Orange, and Southside Riverside counties can use a report on their neighbors for violating the new code. The new rules could even force firefighters to collect the water they use to douse burning buildings. Yeah, they're going to tie us up in such bureaucratic red tape that we just totally collapse, while China, India, and 100+ of the third world countries are totally exempt. And they've got suicide nets around their factories and abortuaries inside where they force abort people that get pregnant. I mean, this is in the news. Mobile execution vans, you name it, in China. That's what we're competing against. And this is the system that they are bringing in. And again, they're just going to keep ratcheting it up. Government telling you can't pack lunches for your kids. Government saying they got cameras in the school bathrooms watching your kids. It's beyond 1984. And we just comply and comply and comply. They say hay dust in a barn, $2,000 a day fines. I've seen We got to dig these up and put them on. Some of them are on the internet from 96, 97 on my Access TV show, where old people would call me and say, I'm over here on West 37th, Roland Ellingson. They're giving me $2,000 a day fines this week because my grass was too high. I even went and mowed it, and they're still giving me more. And I went over there. He had 3-inch grass. He was in a gentrifying area with yuppie living around him who wanted his property, it turned out. And then a good police officer called me and said, here's 2 city council people's houses. They've got like 3-foot grass in the middle of the city. And I went over there and showed that, and they backed off. And I went and showed the health department with 2-foot grass. But the point is $2,000 a day fines. It said weeds and other objectionable material. That's how they're now arresting people for gardens all over the country. They say, we find it objectionable. We are God. Well, now it isn't going to be $2,000 a day. My grandfather... My dad looked at it. I looked at it. I advised him to fight it. My grandfather just climbed over and did it. They had a drainage ditch behind their house, not on their property, with a government easement off the highway. And they started sending him $2,000 a day fines when he was 70-something years old, saying, you will clean out the brush that's flooded, even though it wasn't from his yard, or we'll keep fining you. Not a bill to clean it up, even though that was a fraud. He climbed over, worked on it, drug it out, had a heart attack, and then was all screwed up for about 5 years till he died. But the point is, this is the scum of the bureaucrat code enforcer who will now put you in jail for 6 years, $100,000 fine. And you've heard about the SWAT teaming events for people that don't water their grass in areas of even like places like Idaho. This is it, folks. This is, see, you're being inducted into the criminal justice system. You're the food. And they're going to take everything you got, and they're going to have a little knick-knack excuse to do it. So I hope all of you that love the government, the same government that's done all these secret tests on people killing the population on record, I hope you enjoy what you get, because they're going to destroy our society, and no amount of new money will fund the counties, the cities. They tell the code enforcers, go raise money, you'll get your job. No amount of that. It's all taken offshore on purpose to destroy the economy. It's just quadrillions they just put in the bank of derivatives crud. Okay, the plan is to wreck us. And when they pass the carbon taxes and the VAT taxes and the rest of it in the name of austerity to keep the economy going this year, close quote, remember, it's designed to shut the economy down. So I hope you all enjoy that, those of you that love big government. Jay in England, where they're now arresting people for not throwing the proper... I've seen $3,000 fines for putting cat litter in the wrong trash can. It's all about the religion. It's not going to just be recycling, folks. It's going to be, you're going to be taxed and harassed for everything you do and surveilled. The hell world is coming. Go ahead. This is the tyranny. Jay in England, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Alex. It's my first time call. I've just started getting to you about 3 weeks ago. And basically, what it is basically, this Big Brother state, you know, is sort of getting out of hand. I mean, I live in Peterborough in England, and I went to town for the first time in 2 years last week, and now they've got microphones up on each side of the CCTV. I mean, how bad does it need to get before people finally sort of, you know, wake up? Do you know what I mean? It's getting ridiculous.
Well, I mean, just 6, 7 years ago, they denied they were listening to your phones. Now they say, oh, we listen to all your phones in live time. And when you're walking around in England now, because I've been there, they just walk up, and I've talked to the Watsons that live there, and they just go, where are you going? We just want to know. And they harass people that look clean cut and hardworking. If you're hardcore thugs, they'll let you beat, you know, they're allowed to do whatever they want. This is a lawless criminal takeover where the criminals instinctively hate the fact that good people will stand in their way. So this is all the religious domination of the good. This is a religion of evil. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's the case. I mean, I work as a water treatment technician, so I meet people on a daily basis, and everybody's so sick and tired of it. But, you know, they say, you know, what can I do? What will I do?
Well, you got to stop complying, and you've got to start exposing the bureaucrats. You've got to go after the bureaucrats on little things like their expense accounts and auditing them, and they're all crooks. So if you go investigate them, you're going to find out they're involved in crime. You've got to see them as the enemy, and you've got to discredit them. You've got to undermine them. You've got to demonize them. You've got to attack them legally and lawfully as your savage enemies, because they are yours. These are would-be Soviet takeover artists with a high-tech integration, okay? They are our mortal enemies. They are eugenicists, death cult, lovers of evil. I mean, I cannot come up with words. These are the most sickening, gibbering, vicious criminals you could ever imagine. I have hired an expanded graphics department of some very talented people. And you'll now notice every day up at Infowars.com and PrisonPundit.com, you'll see some of the amazing art that's in Infowars magazine up there. And there's a image of a Reaper 308. And it says, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, Second Amendment. And what you do is you click, you copy that, you email it out. That's the type of thing that goes viral. Just every little thing you do will help get the word out. Let's continue with your phone calls here. Derek in Utah, thanks for holding her on the air. Welcome.
Alex, how you doing?
Good.
I love you, brother. Hey, just wanted to thank you, and I know you don't like to be thanked and stuff, and I just want to tell you that I understand your frustration trying to get things through people's heads. I'm a Mormon, didn't vote for Romney, sure as heck didn't vote for Obama. Just want to tell everybody out there, a lot of people are aware of what's going on. We're all prepared. I got an evil well. I got evil chickens running around my backyard.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Manure has runoff, even though it's always naturally been there. We're going to have to arrest you. You're not allowed to. Is there hay dust? You know, I mean, it's okay to put GMO pesticides in your food or fluoride in your water, but you can't have any runoff. We're going to have to shut you down.
Well, I just wanted you to know I'm getting a little meeting together here with Joel Skousen's coming out. We're going to try to make some of these Mormons out here who are all Republicans try to aware of what's really going on.
Well, that's what's happening. We've all got to get meetings going. All of you have to be leaders in your area and get aggressive. Don't just count on Ron Paul or Alex Jones or others out there. This is make it or break it. We are in the middle of a scientific, creeping, corporate, authoritarian, bureaucratic, red tape-laced takeover. God bless you. Good to hear from you. Cupcake in Maryland. You're on the air, Cupcake.
Hey there, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes, Cupcake.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, if it weren't for you and InfoWars, I'd be a very sick woman. I was a former Glenn Beck viewer and listener. Until I stumbled across one of your YouTube channels and found out that I'm not being told about GMOs. I'm not being told about the police state, the false flags and black ops, the mafia that is the pharmacy industry. Agenda 21.
But here's the good news. We're forcing him to cover it now. That's why he implied that I'm trying to cover it up, because he has to tell more and more of the truth if we're here. I mean, we're all that stands in his way of a monopoly he sees as a business. And again, if you just joined us, I shouldn't have spent 30 minutes first hour going after Glenn Beck. He just called me a piece of garbage and all this stuff, and really went after me yesterday and implied I was trying to lie about him when I'm not. And it's just despicable. And look, I don't want to sit here and bash Glenn Beck. We got bigger fish to fry. Overall, he does better and better work, and we're keeping him honest. Look, you wouldn't hear any of these mainline talk show hosts talk about a new world order just 5 years ago. Now they all have to talk about it. Why is that? Not just because of Alex Jones or Ron Paul, but because of you. Okay? I mean, look, and now the world government we talked about is being announced. So we were right, they were wrong. And so, of course, they're going to attack us. I mean, look, Glenn Beck said he was going blind from macular degeneration. Paul Watson and I wrote an article thinking maybe we could get him to realize that aspartame is known to cause that in major scientific studies. We wrote an article linking to the studies. We sent it to him. We sent it to Matt Drudge. Matt Drudge, who cared, put it up, I'm sure, thinking, hey, here, I'll try to help Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck went on the show and made fun of us, made fun of InfoWars and made fun of it. So, I mean, it's just a creepiness. It's a creepiness factor that, okay, go blind then, man. Knock yourself out, because I've seen him a few times I've tuned in with a Diet Coke up there. He's very proud of that. All I know is I'm going to warn that most of the sugar gum now has it and it's hurting our kids. You know, I'm going to talk about it, and I wish he'd come out and warn people so we can help little kids that are getting hurt by this. I wish to heaven above that I could have got Lance Armstrong to talk about why is cancer increasing instead of cancer cures. But he told me go where the sun doesn't shine. Years ago, back when he still had power and had a chance to do good. But it's just all part of this mean, hard world. Anything else you'd like to add, Cupcake?
Yeah, I would.
Stay there. I'm going to come back to you. Stay there. We'll be right back to you. And a lot more on the news front. I need to get into this economic news, but we'll talk to Cupcake, Josh, Marcos, Sarah, Brian, and others straight ahead. Okay, I'm going to finish up with our caller we were just talking to, and I was intending to have Steve Shenk in here to talk about the economy, but his plane got late. But he literally came in here 60 seconds before we went into this segment, so we're going to be able to have him here with us and also do an interview on the nightly news. It's always an honor to have him here because he has forecasted so much of what is now unfolding. Again, we were just talking to Cupcake, a lady calling in. I don't want to get into bashing Glenn Beck, okay? He comes out and calls me a piece of garbage and implies, because he put out fake Agenda 21 ads, that I was trying to defame him when we posted a link to it for 30 minutes, one of my webmasters. We had it taken down 30 minutes in because I could tell it was satire, but he put it out there so people would be confused. Then he attacks me. That's not my issue with Glenn Beck, okay? My issue is that he sees it as we're in competition, and I'm not in competition with Glenn Beck, okay? This is not about Alex Jones being, king of the hill. And so I don't want to digress off into that. But yes, 4 years ago, Glenn Beck would say that Ron Paul supporters are dangerous, and that's why they're getting the army ready to put them on the streets. I've played the clip before. I'm going to put a video together. He would say there's no New World Order. Now he says he's the king of it, and he's the guy exposing Agenda 21 and implies I'm trying to stop him or something. And then I'm in a basement. So I don't know what to say to any of this, and I didn't mean to get off into it, but the lady was just listing different facets, different reasons, different examples, different everything that feed into all of this, and why it upset her when she first heard Glenn Beck, but then realized he wasn't telling her all the other issues that are going on. Like, Beck will now talk about eugenics. I mean, I'm proud of the fact that I've forced eugenics, along with my listeners, out to be a major issue now. But at the same time, then he never tells you the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the depopulation and the full story. He tells you the Democratic Party wants to do this. No, this is a global government takeover. Announced. Real fast, finish up, Cupcake.
Well, yeah, and he is always talking about how to love your brother and how we need to help each other. And as your son, I heard your son yesterday, and it gave me goosebumps. And it makes me think, this is what it's all for. And Matthew 7, judge not that you be not judged. But also, I just wanted to quickly say that I bought into the vaccine and the whole H1N1 back in 2009 and took the shots. I have been very sick ever since. I've got autoimmune disorders that they can't identify. I've got rheumatoid arthritis all of a sudden, high blood pressure, atrial fibrillation. I've got emphysema. I've got all these illnesses. I was a healthy woman. And now I know
it's incredible. The insert says it does all that to you, and then they get on the news and say there's no side effects. That's what I want to cover. And that's what these neocon talk show hosts won't talk about. And that's what makes me so angry, is it's not just you. You've gotten to live some life. They're doing this to little kids now with these vaccines and the GMO, and it makes me angry. And then to see a bunch of establishment types now trying to co-opt the movement that we've built over decades, people like Steve Shenk, Ron Paul, G. Edward Griffin, countless others, is very frustrating. And Cupcake, you should go on YouTube. You should shoot videos, your testimony. Everybody damaged by these vaccines. Everybody damaged by Big Pharma. Our voices cannot be shut down. That's why they want to shut us down, is because we're so powerful. All of you have power. All of us together will defeat these people. God bless you. Good to hear from you. Boy, I tell you, Steve Shenk is here. vfoodsdirect.com. I was super nervous, excited about getting you in here today because people have really loved the interviews you've done, and you've been very, very kind to come back in studio with us. And we'll have to do another interview after the show since your plane got delayed, but better. Well, you weren't late. You showed up 1 minute before, but it was still we weren't ready because we thought you were going to show up after. But so much going on with food. What an example where the preppers are bad, the media told us. But the new article out today by Paul Watson, I haven't even mentioned, photo shows, we'll punch this up on screen for TV viewers, but it's in the featured news area of prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. If you go to Infowars.com, just punch it up on your computer in there. The headline there, just no, you can just do it on your computer in there. Is what I was saying. You can punch up right there on the screen where FEMA had to get its food from the local churches and volunteer groups, and we all saw the sign last week. Where it openly said that FEMA is closed in New York and New Jersey for bad weather. That was the sign. We're gonna show those on screen. But Steve Shenk, I mean, it is just incredible what's going on.
Well, very simply, Alex, we've got a situation that you and I talked about the last time that we were here, and that is the fact that the government has made commitments to feed a tremendous number of people. Now, just recently, they came out with the numbers for the people on food stamps. Normally, this is brought out at the very beginning of the month, but oddly enough, we're not hearing about the people that are on food stamps, the increase of over 400,000 people, all coming up on 500,000 people in 1 month's time going on food stamps. And then we find out that just in the last few days, people in Ohio, which, by the way, was a swing state, are being notified that their food stamps are being cut back by $50 a family. Now, you put this whole thing together, what we talked about before was food is the medium of power worldwide and nationwide. Now, if you'll remember the movie Lion King, what happened? The bad guy, went out and he talked to the scavengers of the earth, basically, the hyenas, and he said, "Stick with me and you'll never be hungry again." Interesting thought, isn't it? Now, what we have is a lot of people who are unemployed, a lot of people who are not employable. We have a tremendous number of our population. Right now, about half of our population, one way or another, is needing help with their food. Now, all the commitments that are made to feed all of these people that are in the position of not providing anything to the economy is being made by the government, which has no food. We found that out in Katrina. We found that out way back in Edward, and we find it out now. They have no food, but yet they're committing that they are going to take care of everyone. Let's go back to Lion King. Stick with me and you'll never be hungry again. But what happened when all of the producers were forced, as the lionesses, if you remember the story, were forced over a period of time to constantly feed all of these others, then we had total starvation in that movie. What do you think is going to happen right now? We have the greatest depression that this country's ever seen. We have the greatest drought. Remember, we've talked time and time again, Alex, about the fact that worldwide, we've got the 7-year famine. This is the last year of it. Just before the election, we heard a whole lot about how people were being taken care of. You talked about how everyone was being given cell phones at the expense of the people that were paying for their cell phones. We've got all of this stuff. Now, I want you to jump with me to the colors. by colors, I mean what party is represented by red, what party is represented by blue. Okay? Right now, the conservatives are represented by red. The liberals are represented by blue. Remember the movie Matrix. If you took the red pill, you understood what was going on. If you took the blue pill, all is well in Zion. So what's happening is we have in this country a reverse of polarity is on those colors. Now, I know this sounds like I'm rambling.
No, I'm riveted. What are you talking about?
Very, very interesting.
Come take over the show.
You see, what happens is in every other country, the radical liberals are represented by red, okay? And the conservative, the let's take care of our own bases and take care of ourselves and be responsible is represented by blue. It's been reversed in this country. And it's been reversed just in the last 10 years. And so what we're having here is we've got the movie Matrix, and I believe that if you look at Lion King, if you look at the story behind Lion King, you have a foreshadowing and a prediction of exactly what's happening here. And what happened after the bad guy, the bad lion, you know, said to all the hyenas, hey, stick with me and we'll take care of you. And then they forced the workers, the lionesses, to go out and hunt for everybody. And pretty soon, the land was the land desolation. This is what we are seeing before our very eyes. And we even have the colors representing the opposite of what they should.
Well, expanding on that, that's because the Lion King obviously is basing on what other governments have done, what socialists and communists have done. Mao did it, Lenin did it, Stalin did it, Fidel Castro did it, Chavez is doing it. Every time they do this, it doesn't matter if the poor are actually getting poorer. They like misery. Misery likes company. And it is about a wrecking and a pulling down. And once people get dependent, it's over. They don't know how to do anything but mill around and not even know how to tie their shoelaces. And then they hate those of us that have energy and will actually work.
Well, and the interesting thing that you're dealing with is while people are hungry, if people are hungry, they can no longer listen to the wisdom of the ages. They can no longer think. They can no longer have feelings, and they can no longer rebel. Basically, starvation is always has been, is now, and forever will be used. And you see, what we're seeing with the promotion of, do you remember, we talked, the last time you and I were together, we talked about the fact that they were actually advertising for people to get on food stamps. They had this little old lady that said, well, can I get food stamps if I have a job? Can I get food stamps if I have a car? Can I have food stamps if I have a home? And the answer was, oh, yes.
And what it really is a government card that gets you your food, getting you ready for a government card, cashless society, and it's all admitted while the police state goes in, while they shut down the family farms, while they put in Agenda 21 to shut down the rural areas. This is exactly how the Soviets took over Poland and Ukraine.
Well, I guess maybe, you know, my daddy used to say, sometimes for those that have ears to hear and eyes to see, the handwriting is on the wall. But if you don't have to be politically aware. Now, you see, what you've been doing for your entire career, the thing that people like about you and the reason that you come under attack, you know, another thing that I've learned a long time ago, I've got you by a couple of years, just a couple.
Yeah.
But anyway, I learned a long time ago that if you ain't getting kicked in the butt, you ain't out ahead of anybody. But what you've been doing is you've been raising the voice of warning. You literally have been the voice screaming in the wilderness for people to listen. But one of the things that we were talking about just this last conversation we had is you can warn people, but you can't feed them. That's why what we're doing right now, trying to get the message out, this last little 60-second spot that you cut is absolutely phenomenal because it puts it right where it is. It's telling people why you're doing what you're doing. Now, you can't convince people to take care of themselves, but you can warn them, but you can't feed them.
Well, that's the issue. I'm digging in. I've got the storable food, not because I'm a coward, but because I want to provide for my family. People don't understand. This is a diabolical takeover. I said as soon as Obama gets in, they're going to drop the economy. He was just giving a speech. Today, they're promoting carbon taxes. It's in Forbes. It's in Reuters. EPA's insanely ambitious agenda if Obama's reelected, carbon taxes to fund the derivatives that's the banker's debt. They want to shut this country down.
Well, very simply, if you remember way back before the first election, the speeches that were made indicated that we were not going to be able to run a coal-fired electric plant in this country because they would tax it out of existence.
He said, I will bankrupt you.
That's right.
I will bankrupt 51% of our power. I mean, he said that.
Okay. Now, if you want to...
What do all these idiots think's going to happen when they shut them all down? The power prices are already exploding. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they are.
But listen, you like to come on the air to talk, and some of those videos we've done on the Nightly News are so popular. You're one of our big sponsors because I researched and found the best storable foods company, the best prices. There's a lot of talk out there, folks. eFoods is the place. Good, healthy, clean, quality food without all the additives and garbage. But every time I get you here, you never even want to plug efoodsdirect.com and the specials at efoodsdirect.com/Alex. But I'm going to plug them.
I don't have to. I don't have to.
No, you can barely make enough food, yeah.
This is not the job that you and I have. Somehow
it's to warn people.
Somehow or another, we have to hit these folks over the head with a 2x4 to get them to realize we had Edward. They had to go out and get 70,000 MREs from a Army-Navy supply store. We had Katrina. People didn't get fed for a long period of time. There is no food. I told you about the experience that I had when I was on my radio show where we had people call in and they actually took trucks down to the area that were empty and they scavenged food from the school lunchrooms and freezers to feed the people.
Look, FEMA can't even take care of people, and FEMA's got to go to the churches to get food.
There you go.
I mean, this is unbelievable what they've turned us into.
Well, but what if you want to take if you want an example of exactly how things are going, look at food stamps. Before the election, we advertised to get as many people on food stamps as possible, get as many people dependent, and get all those voters that are marginal in terms of being below the poverty line.
No, they want you in poverty. They want you in the system. The answer is, folks, and they've said this, during a total collapse, they're going to tell you turn your guns in for food. That's the plan, and you know, if you have your own food, you won't have to stand on the bread line, as you've said many, many times, efoodsdirect.com. Steve Shenk, I want to come back and ask you, because you've been a man who's really seen this coming like nobody else from so far away, where it's going next. By the way, Steve Shenk wasn't going to be on the Nightly News tonight, but I've got to go over and interview you because you've got a bunch of breaking news about food consolidation. I remember you like 5 years ago saying all this was coming because you're one of the biggest manufacturers out there, or the biggest. I guess now these mega conglomerates are forming. But we got 28 million conservatively people unemployed, 48 million on food stamps and growing. QE3 devaluing the dollar. Nearly half the country is on some sort of food subsidy. 220,000 people fall below the poverty line every day. 48 million Americans on food stamps. Millions of American children are growing to bed hungry every night. I mean, how did America turn into this? Well, we got a big government, and it made a bunch of dependent people. And now it is all going to accelerate. How bad do you think it's going to get, Steve?
I don't know. I think it's going to get very interesting. But you asked before the break where I think this was going. And let me answer by this. I'm not going to tell you where I think it's going to go. I just want every one of your listeners to go and watch the movie Lion King. Because at the point where Scar got his power and took over by asking the hyenas, the non-producers, to support him, at that point, where they forced the lionesses to go out and hunt and provide for everybody. The producers had to produce for the non-producers. If you look at what happened, the pride land dried up. There was pure depression. Everyone was starving.
And by the way, what happened to the economy right after Obama got reelected?
Well, all I can do is draw the parallels. Promoting food stamps and dependency before, taking it away after, forcing those who work to provide for those who maybe don't, and provide for the giveaway, and promising sustenance when you don't have it, when the government tells people that they are going to take care of them. When has it ever happened that people actually came in need? When Katrina came, when, you know, the storms out east came, when have they ever been able to make full on their promises, but yet people continue to say, I will be dependent to be taken care of?
Well, look at Michael Moore.
I understand.
I mean, he said, thank God for the storm, because the government, now people need the government, and the government can't deliver. I'm sorry, say your point.
Well, that's true. But you see,
the only answer,
the only answer, if it is to be, it's up to me. We have to turn back into Americans. We have to say, I am dependent on no one but me. I am going to decide that I am the one that is going to take care of my own being. And until people realize that no one can do anything for you, it can't happen. Until they realize that the most basic dependency they have is food, and until they listen to your warning that says, guys, food is the international medium of power. It's the means by which every other country has gathered the guns. Every other country has put people into bondage. Every other, from the ancient Israelites in Egypt right down to China.
The Israelites went into bondage because of the food.
Yeah, and how long were they there?
A long time.
400 years. Interesting thought, isn't it? How long you want to be? Listen. Did you see the map of all the red states versus the teeny little blue states? All of the people that are thinking true American? It's unbelievable.
And it didn't even mean they knew Romney wasn't good, but they understood, at least he said, that people working was important. It's everybody producing. We're the enemy, we're the bad guys, we're the terrorists. Final segment with Steve Shenk. You can go to eFoodsDirect/Alex, eFoodsDirect.com/Alex to find the 6 free meal deals so you can test out their high-quality foods. You can also call the toll-free number 800-876-0871, 800-876-0871. I want the patriots, I want the good guys to be prepared. I want everybody to have firearms, water filters, and high-quality food. And you know, as we privately said, I think you should go after your competition. There's more nutrition in a lot of your competition's box than there is in the food itself. And I don't just say that. I went out and got you because I found you were the best out there, and it's turned out I've been right about that. But tonight on the Nightly News, we're going to do another 30 minutes, and I'll probably end up airing this next week on the radio or even sooner. People need to hear this, all the stuff you're telling me off air. What do you expect? Just give us a little preview. You've told us what was coming so far. What's going to come next?
Well, what we're going to see is more control, and we're going to see a lot less ability of people to respond. You see, 20,000 people are dropping below the poverty line every single day in this country. And as people are no longer able to take care of food, then they won't be able to take care of other things too. If people will understand that they do have power if they can keep their freedoms, and the only way they can keep their freedom is by being independent, and food is where they have to start. I know I sound like a one-string banjo, but even the people that are having trouble affording in the grocery store, if they will if they will set aside a little bit, get some...
Look at food inflation. You predicted that with precision 4 years ago. It's happening ever since. You said buy the food, save it, and then...
It's happening. It's happening. But the fascinating thing is everybody's saying food is going up like crazy, food is going up like crazy. You remember we lost 70% of our corn crop, and we're losing all other crops too. But we haven't even hit... We have not even hit the shortages that are going to come from this last crop failure. We're still working on last year's crop. So if you think that the food prices are high right now, what people must do is they must get the food in while they can still afford it. They can freeze the price. But more important, they have to get the food in their possession, just like you have to get gold in your possession.
And if you look at what the big companies are doing, this is even in the financial news, they're rushing in and buying up the farmland, the producers. They're hiring the farm families to run it. They're buying up the food companies. I mean, that's where all the money's going.
What happened in the stock market when it dropped like a rock right after Obama was elected? What were people actually investing in? They were investing in anything connected with guns and anything connected with agriculture. Do you realize that I was contacted by 5 different organizations 3 days after the election wanting to come in and invest in this company?
I know, and they've got national talk show hosts angry that I've even got sponsors and that I'm even doing my show, and it's really just about the fact that they don't even want people like you around out there operating.
Yeah, I'm going to pay in the butt to everybody. But anyway, no, it's... The investors, in fact, back when Soros was talking about everybody putting their money into gold, and then he shifted about 6 months ago and seriously said to all key investors, don't waste your money on gold, dump the gold, and get into agriculture. Now, what do you think they're thinking? Go back to the Lion King. What happens when Scar says, stick with me and you'll never be hungry again? And all of the followers, all of the non-producers, the hyenas, stuck with him and forced everyone who was a producer to provide that way. And what happened? Draw your own conclusion as to how...
Unbelievable. eFoods Direct, 800-409-5633 is the number to call to get specials, 800-409-5633. He'll be back on the Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock Central, prisonplanet.tv.